Okay, guys, we're moving on to the exhaust manifolds. I'm only just taking a break from the spacers and stuff. But these came and I wanted to get a quick look at them. So what I did is, this is fresh out of the packaging. I'm not a big fan of the center to exhausts that are Siamesed, but it's going into a common, I guess you could call it a log. Usually I consider logs to be a rear exit, but these are center dump. And, they're fairly open. And I don't see a lot to improve, to be honest. These do have the EGR. So there is literally a round tube that comes all the way out. I'm going to guess that's the front. I don't really know whether the tubes come out the front or the rear. I'm not a Mopar expert by any means. But yeah, we see some garbage in there that could get ground out. But as far as that is, that's hard to even get. So, judging from the size of these ports, let's take a look at the ends. Okay, this is an end port. Why it has a trapezoid shape, I really don't know, because the heads have a rectangular exhaust port on that side. And it's bulged out quite a bit for both bolt bosses. I'm sure we can take some metal off of that, but I've already done a little bit of flow work on these. I was not impressed with the improvement from ported to non-ported. I only did the center. In order to do exhaust, I had to reverse I didn't unbolt the head. The head is exactly the way it was. So I removed the entire bore adapter with the head, spun it around. I had to grind out a bunch of my bore adapter just to get it to fit. I was not really happy about that, but I took some metal off the iron, but there's not a lot there I can remove to make it work. Otherwise, it did not sit flat on the exhaust ports. My first mistake bolting these up and flowing it was I flowed the exhaust port. I only flowed it from 400 to, I think, 700 or 800. 700 because it's pointless anything else. Right now we're just looking for peak numbers, because these are going to be I would think this would be a big cork in the system. Exhaust manifolds, right? They don't have a good history of flowing well. But to be honest, with this design, I don't really see them being hugely restricted. Now, I had some help getting these. My buddy's got a YouTube channel, Broken Tool Garage. Please go on there and thank him. He packed these up. And he packed this nightmare up for me, which I can't thank him enough. So we are moving at a high rate of speed compared to the rest of this project. So what I did first thing with this is, this exhaust port has got the exhaust crossover built into it. So that had to be plugged on the back of the head. All right, I didn't plug that, and I left everything else open. And it flowed considerably better with the exhaust manifold on than with it off. I said, well, I goofed something up. And then I went back. I'm like, of course, I have to fill all the other ports with like an old foam pillow, really stuff them in there. And I had to stuff in a bunch to the exhaust crossover. And then we lost a bunch of flow. And I'm like, okay, that makes more sense. So let's take a look at that. Okay, sorry about the scribble, guys, but I had to figure out what I was doing. Okay, this exhaust port ported, but it had an open heat riser. Okay, it flowed quite well. In fact, better than the other trapezoid port by quite a bit. You'd have to go back in my videos and check that out. Closed up the heat riser, makes a big difference. That's about what the other trapezoidal center exhaust port flowed. Now, bone stock exhaust manifold. All right, she takes a hit. Down from 137 to 129. From 159 to 149. From 166.6 to 156.1. From 158.4. 168.3 to 158.4. About 10 more or less everywhere, which, to be honest, was a lot better than I was expecting. A lot better. In reality, they run a 500 lift cam at 150 CFM coming out the exhaust ports. Pretty sure we can hit our horsepower goals. So I was relatively happy about that. Then I went through and I ported it. I'll show you the ported one when I'm show you what it flows on the. We have it set right now for 500 lift. Let me show you what it flows. Okay, range 4. This I have to set with my camera because it's facing the wrong direction. Fire in the hole. Okay, take a look at our ported exhaust manifold and our stock exhaust manifold. Practically no gain. Almost nothing. That was quite a bit of grinding to just remove some of this bump without making it too thin. Take the junk off. There was a lot of writing and casting, so forth, inside. Made almost no difference. Oh, I did the... Let's move to see this. Okay. It's not huge, but it's wide open. All right. You can consider this a plenum, I guess. Very roomy. Okay. It gives the exhaust a chance to slow down and organize and get out. It's really not a bad design. I think these were truck manifolds, but they are 318 manifolds. Like I said, I had help getting them. I had someone else check, make sure they were the right ones, who's way more knowledgeable than me. I appreciate his help as well. Now let me pop the ported one off and you can get a quick look at it. Okay, if anyone has ever had the misfortune of grinding on old, when I say old, I mean very well seasoned iron exhaust manifolds. They are hard as can be. In fact, they don't like to be ground at all. They will beat your burrs up. So I had to do a lot of this with an old burr that I didn't care about, which took a considerable amount of time. You can still see a little bit of lumps and bumps in there. There were several protrusions in this area that we had to machine out. But in reality, it didn't make a bit of difference as far as flow from the flow bench. Now, in reality, the exhaust pressures and velocities are quite a bit different. They may make a much bigger difference on an actual running engine, of course. That goes back to the argument that flow benches lie and you can't get any real information out of them. Arguable. Okay, you can see it was quite rusty, quite pitted. Consider it your golf ball surface, I guess. I don't know. But it's overall stock is quite a good shape. You know, they give us a generous radius coming from the branches to the center dump. So, and, you know, it would have been nice to make the whole thing bigger. It's just too incredibly hard. You can hardly remove any metal off of it. So it's going to be what it is. And to be honest, I think I'm going to do one end not ported and then ported, and do the best I can with it and be done with it. It'll still probably take the better part of a day to get these done. All right, hard to get a focus on this, but this is the exhaust port we're flowing through. Right. You can see it's got the opening in the back to go to the heat crossover. I didn't do that on purpose. That was a mistake. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night.